Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, when we are here today to once again talk about the future of Titanfall 2. In case you guys haven't been thinking about it, Titanfall 2 is probably going to be seeing its final piece of DLC very soon, if it already hasn't, with the release of Frontier Defense. In fact, Respawn just spoke recently in an interview and said that they felt it was time to move on to other things. Now, I would like to see us get one more DLC, one more goodbye, one more big bang from the team at Respawn to say, you know, hey, we'll see you in the next one. Not entirely sure if that's going to happen. I do feel to some degree like Frontier Defense is a pretty good point to walk away as well, kind of completing the full loop of the game, giving us PvP, PvE, and a campaign now. It feels like a more complete package, and with the release of Ultimate Edition, it's all bundled together for any future players to pick up and purchase right from the get-go in, you know, a much more well-executed package when it comes to marketing. The time was eventually going to come, and I think for some of us we were hoping we might see support for the game past the 1-year mark, but this isn't Rainbow Six Siege. The numbers haven't grown that much, and while Frontier Defense has definitely brought a lot of players to the game, and EA Access and Origin Access have done really well, it still doesn't have this massive following, and I don't think Respawn ever had excessively long-term plans for the game. It wasn't in the books from the get-go, if you will. There was no plan to take this game, you know, well beyond the 1-year mark, and a lot of that just has to do with how Titanfall 2 is designed, the way it's been given to us as players. It's not a game that's looking for a long-term competitive scene like Rainbow Six Siege or Overwatch. It is a much more traditional release for a first-person shooter. It's there, it has a PvP offering, and in a lot of ways, it functions very similar to what Call of Duty has been doing for the last how many years. While they do have a competitive scene for Call of Duty that jumps from game to game, they release a game, they give it DLC for about a year, you know, 6-7 months, and then they move on to the next thing. Now, we're probably not going to be seeing Titanfall 3 anytime soon, considering Respawn is a smaller studio, and they're working on a lot of other projects, including some Star Wars stuff for EA. So, I'm thinking maybe 3 years, maybe 4. I think it's going to be a pretty good chunk of time before we see Titanfall 3. Now, Titanfall 2 actually came around a lot faster than I ever thought it was going to. You know, I figured we wouldn't be playing Titanfall 2 until maybe 2018 if we were lucky. I just didn't expect to see the game when we saw it. So, I think that's great. You know, it's cool to have gotten to play Titanfall 2, and hopefully it was a really big learning experience for Respawn. For me, when we talk Titanfall 3, it's a big deal for me that Respawn looks at restructuring how they build the Titanfall game going forward. That means giving us a proper ranking system. Maybe not at launch, but maybe a month after launch. You know, let people get in the game, put in some real ranked play, make a push for more competitive play in that sort of environment, while still preserving the things that come with public play. Make a game that just feels more defined, more clear of what it wants to do with itself, and less full of mechanics that often contradict one another. Basically, I love the core gameplay that is Titanfall. You know, the movement system, slide hopping, the advanced techniques, you know, that stuff's fantastic. The mech gameplay, some of the best on the market. The way that Respawn has always been able to seamlessly allow us to transition from pilot to mech and have it feel like a first-person shooter still. It's not as if we go from, you know, first-person shooter mechanic in Titanfall to, like, mech warrior mech mechanics. The two have always really gelled very well. Those are the things that make the game so enjoyable. The rest of it, I think, can be shaped and redefined by Respawn to attract a bigger audience and to create a game that could last for multiple years, that they could support for 2-3 years going on, that could have a proper competitive scene that really appreciates what the game has to offer. I'm not saying that's some easy task and they're just going to push some buttons, but I'm hoping that it's an opportunity that they get to take, and that they get to take Titanfall to the next level. Not to mention, now that we have this full-blown story campaign for Titanfall, we've been introduced to these characters in this universe, I think we all fully agree that we want way, way more of that. And even Frontier Defense coming back, it was a really great indication of what they could do with a mode like that, and I'd love to see them take it even further. I would love for Titanfall 3 to be, if they wanted to anyways, Respawn's swan song, if you will, their ultimate creation, the fullest expansion of the franchise that so many of us fell in love with. Now that, of course, is completely up to them, and I think Vincent Zampella has spoken in the past about not really liking to drill his projects into the ground until they're dead, which is why he wanted to move on from Call of Duty before the whole fiasco with Activision happened. For him, it felt like it was time to move on, and maybe Respawn will feel that way about Titanfall, or maybe they'll continue to treat this project as their baby. You know, how can we evolve it? How can we grow it? How can we make it bigger and better than it was before? Either way, I'll definitely be there to support Respawn. I'll definitely play Titanfall 3 if it happens and when it happens. I just hope that they can go as big and as bad as they've always wanted to. I hope that they can get the support financially and also from a development perspective, you know, maybe having multiple studios to work on the project with them under their full control, you know, be able to do the same great games as a service that they did with Titanfall 2, give us that awesome free LD with maybe even better cosmetic microtransactions and monetization this time around, and, you know, be rewarded for being a really consumer-friendly developer. That's the one thing that we have to give to them again and again, is how amazing their post-launch DLC support was for Titanfall 2. That's what kept so many people playing the game. Had the DLC not been handled the way it was, even if it wasn't always the maps we wanted and, you know, new content that we wanted, the fact that it was free and that it was consistent on a almost monthly basis made for, I think, the community that we have today. You know, the chunk of players that are still here playing it are there because Respawn at least showed consistent support, considering, again, I think the very minimal level of you know, budget and resources that they actually had to run this project for as long as they did. So if I had to give like one big juicy final review to my time with Titanfall 2, I'd say that I wouldn't have traded it for anything, and that I will still be playing the game for a long time to come. It's such a fantastic experience, and each and every day I can swap back and forth between weapons and Titans, and for me personally, still feel like the experience is kind of fresh. Even though I've been, you know, days and months into it at this point of playtime, it still feels like I can just transition to the L-Star and all of a sudden I'm playing a different game. There's still that immense satisfaction of playing it with a mouse and keyboard, and the joy of playing it with good friends, whether it's Frontier Defense or PvP with Iniquity and Butterbar. That's never really going to wear out. You know, I'm not just mindlessly grinding Titanfall because I make content for the game and it grows the channel and makes money. It's because I really do still enjoy it, which is why I'll keep making live commentaries for this game until there's only 200 people left on the server, and it takes me a whole day to find a match. So there you have it, guys. I would love to hear how you guys feel about your time with Titanfall 2, and I guess a little bit of what you'd like to see Respawn do with Titanfall 3 if it ever did happen. How did you feel about your time with Titanfall 2? Is it a game that you've come to love and, you know, respect? I think this is a great time to just look back at the things that make Titanfall 2 special to you, rather than worry so much about the criticism. I mean, it's kind of past at this point, right? The game's done, and Respawn's going to be moving on soon, and we're going to be here to just keep the community going, keep playing it as long as we possibly can. We're kind of the final frontier for the game. It's up to us to play it and to support it with whatever resources we're left with over the next couple months from Respawn, and, you know, love the parts of the game that we love, and I think it's best to leave it at that. That's kind of the way I'm going to look at it going forward. Probably won't see much more criticism from me in terms of game balance and stuff like that. At this point, I'm just here to have a good time. I think they left us with some positive changes when we look at the aim assist modifications that were made. You know, Scorch is better than he was before, and I'm just going to enjoy the game from here on out. I'm going to make live commentaries that make me smile and laugh. I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the life of Titanfall 2 with you, the fantastic members of this community. So that does it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Respawn, thank you for a rather fantastic, sometimes flawed, but definitely thoroughly enjoyable and grin-inducing experience within Titanfall 2. As always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.